So it's turned up. Let's have a look. It's always nice getting out fresh. Nicely packaged. Got this little smiley face. Cloth. Obviously had bubble wrap over it. So here we are. Is that the right way up? It's the right way up. So there you go. So it's ticking. It's always a good sign. I got it out and it was ticking. The first thing I checked. So quite nicely packaged. Jubilee clasp. 316 stainless steel. It's quite small. I mean, obviously, even in comparison to, I'm wearing a Jaeger. It's Navitime automatic. So there you go. So that, you can see that right. So this is 316 stainless steel, and I put a mesh strap on this one. It had a leather strap, which is quite a big watch. So compared to this, it's a little bit smaller. I think this is 41mm, and this is about 45. So, you know, it doesn't look huge on my arms, and neither does this. So obviously it's got the see-through visual case back there. 316 stainless steel. Doesn't feel too bad. Bezel's a little bit of play in the bezel. Imagine that's not too bad. This one should have ceramic bezel. It looks like it, to be honest. Ceramic bezel. Screw down crown, which works absolutely fine. You can, I noticed this, that when you pull it out, it does stop the movement. There we go. There it is, adjusting. Adjusting, yeah, so that's fine. Screw it back down. Oh, it feels okay, it's not too bad. Jubilee bracelet's a little bit cheap feeling. It is screw down links. I'm telling you, this looks a lot better probably on camera than it actually feels in my hand. It does feel cheap. There's no way you're going to mistake this for a Rolex. I've had Tudor watches, I've had Tag Heuers, I've had some nice watches in my collection, and I still have some of them. When I feel this in my hand, it feels cheaper than this. And this is a £100 watch. So this is an expensive watch, but it feels quite nice and the movement feels quite nice. This has got like a, you can hear and feel that movement moving. I don't know if you can hear that, but you can feel it. It's rattly. It's a rattly watch. And again, the bracelet's a little bit sort of inconsistent gaps and inconsistent, you know. So yeah, I noticed that you can adjust the second time zone on this automatic. So this is the NH35 in this one, movement. So when you pull it out, it stops. The second hand stops. But you can't adjust 2 time zones. You've only got 1 time zone, and that just stays in sync with the hour. So it just puts itself on like the opposite side. So you can't use it as a time zone. It's not, the movement doesn't work that way. But I'm being picky because I've had nice watches, and now I've got this, and I'm like, there's no way I'd mistake this for a Rolex. It looks like a fake cheap watch, and that's exactly what it is. It's a fake cheap watch. So let's take this one off, see what it feels like on the. So there you go. That's a £100 watch. That's also an automatic, but it feels pretty solid. This is a solid watch. This has been working for years. You can barely hear it. So I've had this watch about 3 or 4 years. So there we go. That's with that one. Tell you what, the clasp is certainly solid. Really solid. So this is definitely going to feel, doesn't feel great. I do like the Batman bezel, which actually stands for night and day. So there you go, 6 till 6, night and day. It's working okay, it's sweeping okay. So what would I estimate the value of this watch? If I saw it in a shop, because we all know we buy everything offline now and you can't see it, and that's what I don't like. It's like you're buying stuff blind and then you get it and you're either disappointed or you're happy. Am I happy with this watch for £75? I don't think it's worth that much. I think it's worth about 50 quid. The way it feels, it feels so cheap, guys. You know, you're probably looking at this thinking this looks like a nice watch, and this looks like the Rolex. This looks like a good fake. Like you could wear this out, and people would be like, "Oh, you got a Rolex GMT." No. If I saw someone wearing that, I'd know instantly from 50 paces that that is not a Rolex GMT Master 2. That is a very cheap copy. So this is the Thyssen. I've looked at the Bacani and they're exactly the same. They're very, very cheap Chinese copies and they're worth about 50 quid to you and I. I paid 75. Okay, I'm not overly disappointed with that. It doesn't matter. What's 20, you know, or 75 quid. But don't go buying any of these Chinese copies, these Chinese Rolex copies, or Breitling or Chrono Swiss or whatever online, and think that you're going to get a watch that's a good enough copy to fool people. Because I'm no expert, but I know a real looking Rolex, I know a Tudor, I know a Tag Heuer, I know a Breitling when I see one. And this, no matter how good, with an automatic movement, 316 stainless, doesn't look anything like it. I recently had a Tudor, and as soon as I saw it, you know, the quality's there, and it's not even a Rolex, it's just a Tudor, but the quality was there. The titanium bracelet, you could tell automatically, even just from the bracelet and the case, that it was the real McCoy. And it felt really nice on the wrist. It just wasn't a watch for me when you're talking about £3,000, £4,000, £5,000. These Submariners now, that even if you can get one, you know, I mean, Rolex isn't a high street retail shop anymore. You can't just walk into Rolex and buy a watch. You have to be put on a waiting list, and if you're lucky and you've got 30 grand and you've spent money in their shop, then you might get one in 6 months, 8 months. But generally, you won't get a Rolex. So, but if you think you're going to buy a cheap copy and you think that that's going to fool people,